Good morning. Good morning, traders. How are you all doing today? Karibuni sana. Glad you could all join us this fine Wednesday morning. This is a nice sunny day. So hope everyone is doing well. So yes, we can start. So hi everyone, how are you doing today? My name is Mitch Kaniaro and I'm a trader with Afriforex. I want to welcome you to another Afriforex daily analysis session in partnership with Scopema. In part, we're not really partnered with anyone yet, so apologies for that. So remember, during these webinars, ideally, we as a Forex team, we analyze the markets, we identify what trading opportunities we'll be looking at taking for the day, and we do share that information with you. So as usual, I'm not here alone. I'm here with John. John is in the back office here to assist whatever questions or queries you might have. So feel free to ask those questions either in the Q&A section or in the chat box, and he will be able to respond to you. So if you have any questions, queries, but remember, I will still also be addressing all those questions at the end of the webinar. So let's jump straight into it. So as usual, we'll start off with our watch list right here. So yesterday and today, there's not actually been much difference within our watch list. You can see the same pairs that we had yesterday are the same pairs that we're going to be looking at today. So we're going to be focusing on looking for buying opportunities on the Australian dollar, the British pound, as well as the euro. And we're going to mix and match that with all the pairs on the sell side. So that's the Swiss franc, Canadian dollar, the Japanese yen, the US dollar, as well as the New Zealand dollar. Now, the watch list will not remain the same the whole day, mainly because if we do end up coming to our fundamentals, you can see we have some Swiss franc news at 10:30, just 30 minutes after the London session. And we have a number of euro as well as British pound news till around midday. You can see the last piece of euro news around 12:30 or so. So do make sure you are in the Telegram channel. If there are any changes to the watch list, we will end up informing you. So just in case the Swiss franc, let's say, gets some strength, then we'll end up no longer be looking for selling opportunities, and you can end up being able to mix and match those pairs by yourself. So since there's not much of a review, we'll quickly look at a few screenshots that we did manage to get before we do end up jumping in. Sorry, apologies, I'm not actually sharing. There's some small technical difficulties. Sorry about that. Yes, so here is our watch list for today. Apologies for that. So I hope everyone can see my screen. So today we'll be focusing on the same pairs as we were looking at yesterday. So this is the watch list for today. So the Australian dollar, the British pound, as well as the euro. We're going to be looking for buying opportunities on those and mixing and matching that with all the pairs on the sell side. And the fundamentals up front, as you can clearly see, is what I was talking about. Some fundamentals, Swiss franc fundamentals at 10:30 or so. 30 minutes after the London session, then you can see a number of euro fundamentals coming out as well as some British pound news, but the last one is going to come out at 12:30. So if there are any changes to the euro, we'll inform you around that time. But if the Swiss franc does change, we will end up informing you a bit earlier. So this is the watch list. So like this, as I did mention, let's just have a look at a few screenshots that we did manage to get. Then we'll focus on today's pairs because there's no pair that we're not looking at today that we had yesterday. So we'll start off with our first screenshot. So with Bravin, this is Bravin who did manage to get a very nice buying opportunity on silver. We do know Bravin, a very long time client of ours here. And you can see you do end up liking silver as well. So you did grab a very nice buying opportunity, I guess, after the market did end up probing or breaking to the upside. You waited for a pullback and got the buy within a support and resistance area, and you can see the price going up in your favor. So very, very good job on this trade, Bravin. Up to your stop loss is already above your break-even point, but at this point in time, you can also be able to manage some of your trade just in case the prices do come down. But very, very good job on this trade, Bravin. So next, also, we did get Brian. Brian, happy to see a screenshot here, even though it is on TradingView, but happy to see your screenshots. I think this is one of the first, the second screenshot that you've ended up grabbing. So very happy to see you are actually taking advantage of the pairs, or at least the things that we are saying. So you did end up grabbing a buying opportunity. This seems to be gold just based on the price, but next time you send the screenshots, let's hope to also see the currency pair as well. But did grab a very nice buying opportunity. I guess you waited after this level was broken to the upside. Once that broke, you did end up looking for a buy. You managed your trade within a nice seller's area. Good risk to reward of 1:2.5. So very, very good job on this trade, Brian. Keep up the good work and keep on sending in those screenshots as well. So also next, we did get Dan Bickett. You did manage to grab a buying opportunity on the Dow Jones. I know the Dow Jones was ranging, and yesterday we were at the bottom of the range. So you did end up taking advantage of taking the counter. So looking for a buy at the bottom. And it seems that the trade is working out very well because you can't clearly see. You did grab a buying opportunity here. You managed some of your trade within the seller's area. As the price continued going, you did manage your trade within the next problem area. So very, very good job on this trade, Dan Bickett. So also next, Dan, you did manage to grab a very nice buying opportunity on the UK 100. I know you do love trading these indices. So very nice buy within a buyer's area. You can see the way the price did end up bouncing off a particular location, going to the upside. Your stop loss is already above your entry point. So very, very well done. And due to the fact that you're within an area where the sellers, these sellers could still potentially react. So I do end up hoping you manage your trade there well. So last but not least, you did end up grabbing, or at least sending us another screenshot where you did grab a buying opportunity. Unfortunately, not too sure which currency pair this is. So maybe next time, Dan, at least let us know which currency pair it is that you're looking at. But it seems that you did end up waiting for a pullback, grabbing some multiple buying opportunities here. You can clearly see once the price got to a problem area, you closed and managed some of that trade, even closed a bit more later on. And I guess once you confirmed that that level has been broken, it seems that you did end up grabbing another buying opportunity, taking the price up higher and closing the price up above. So very, very good job on this trade, Dan Pickett. So next and last but not least, we did get George Chege. You did end up grabbing a selling opportunity on gold. Can clearly see the price actually coming down. I guess this was going back to a buyer's area. So have to see a sell right there. The price coming in down in your favor. I can see you've already managed some of your trade within this buyer's area. So very, very good job on that. But once that's the case, you should be able to move your stop loss lower. So at least, even if you do end up losing, or at least the market ends up coming back up, you're at least ending up coming out with a good amount of profit. But it's also good to end up leaving the market to actually end up giving some space. But at least the fact that you've managed some of your trade there, very, very good job on that trade, George. And keep on sending in your screenshots and keep up the good work as well. So I guess that is it for all the speech. Oh, no, apologies for that. We did end up also getting Steve Canams. It seems that you're coming to us from Canada. So very happy to see that you're still locked in with us. So you did manage to grab a buying opportunity on gold. I guess once the level did end up breaking that particular area to the upside, can see the price going up in your favor. Your target is all the way at the top. So I do end up hoping as the price is starting to go up higher, you start moving your stop loss to make sure the trade is risk-free. Once it's risk-free, even your emotion-wise, you'll end up feeling a lot better. If you close some, you'll even feel way better. So if the price continues going in your favor, you end up making money. If it comes down, you still will not lose any money, which gives you a bunch of freedom that you can be able to think clearly and make proper decisions. So very good job on this trade, Steve. And you also did catch the euro against the US dollar. A nice buying opportunity. I know we were looking for buys yesterday. Did grab that buy within that support and resistance area. You can see the price already going up in your favor, even though you're trying to target all the way there. And you can clearly see the price has really gone up in your favor, already broken certain support and resistance areas. Once that has already happened, you should be able to move your stop loss up higher. You don't want to trade necessarily going so far up in your profit, then you come back later on to find a loss. The one thing that we always say, never let a winner turn into a loser. So once the price goes in your favor, do make sure you manage some of that trade or close some of your position, even if you still want to leave your stop loss there. So at least, even if the price comes down, you will at least still make some money. So very, very good job on that trade, Steve, and keep up the great work that you're doing. So remember, guys, if you do manage to take any setups based on things that we do share, feel free to send them into us. Our contact details are right there in the chat box. So let's jump straight into today's pairs. As similar as I mentioned, they are going to be the exact same pairs that we were looking at yesterday. So we'll start off with the Australian dollar pairs, mix and match that with the pairs on the sell side. Do the same thing with the British pound as well as the euro before we do have a look at the indices as well as gold and silver. So jumping on to the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. Remember, yesterday our bias here was to look for buying opportunities. We did have these three areas, but remember, also pointed out that it seems that this market seemed to be in some sort of range. So the market didn't manage to end up giving us some sort of pullback, coming back within this particular bias area, and the reaction that ended up coming in was a good indication that we could potentially end up looking for a buy. But you can see based on the timing, that was a bit early. So remember also yesterday, when we were having this discussion, I had pointed out there was a level right here where the price ended up approaching, because at 9 o'clock when we're having this session, the price was within this particular area. Remember, I did point out either waiting for a breach to the downside, or if we are able to get this price breaking and holding above, we can be able to look for buying opportunities. And you can see, even though it started grinding up slowly during the London session, you can see it did pull back towards this area just before 3 o'clock. But at 3, that's when the main move actually happened, pushing it to the upside. And you can clearly see as well, once the price weighted, broke above this particular area, and the price was holding above, we could have actually been able to look for another buying opportunity. Now, remember, this being the Australian dollar, it's way more active during the Asian session, and that's the reason why you can clearly see the way the price actually has continued going up. But today, buyers is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. You can see where we are right now, but within an area where they're sellers, so definitely not looking for a buying opportunity just yet. The main thing we'd want to see is actually us getting a pullback. Potentially, if we can get the price coming back within this particular buyer's area, to get some sort of probable price action signal, we could look for a buying opportunity there. But we are fully aware the way the markets end up reacting sometimes might not necessarily have enough buyers. So we need to incite people to start looking for sells in order for the buys to work. So if you don't find the market reacting within this first problem area right here in the middle, you could end up finding the price approaching all the way to this red support and resistance area. And we will still be looking for buying opportunities. This will be the best place to look for the buys. If the price breaks and holds below this red support and resistance area, this pair at that point in time will fall off our watch list. But also be aware, the other way that this pair can fall off our watch list, remember, this is the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. Remember, since we do have some Swiss franc fundamentals coming out at 10:30, we could end up finding a change to the watch list. And if that happens, then this, or at least we'll no longer be looking at the Australian dollar against Swiss franc. But you could also find that the news comes out and brings in a lot more Swiss franc weakness, and you could find this price breaking to the upside, and you will for a pullback, you can be able to look for buying opportunities there. So I hope that's clear on the Australian dollar against Swiss franc. Right now, us being at the seller's area, definitely not a good place to look for your buying opportunities. So moving on to the next currency pair we did have the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar. Now, this currency pair, yesterday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities, and you can see the 3 areas that we had highlighted yesterday. So did end up pointing out when the price was coming down, I remember pointing out that even though we had this particular bias area here, to watch out for levels where prices have reacted from before. So I did mention to watch out for this particular area. And you can see that's exactly where the price kept on bouncing off from. At 10 o'clock, the price was within there. Did end up spiking down a bit, but not necessarily getting all the way to our area. And you can see the buyers didn't end up reacting, coming all the way up towards the main seller's area. It was choppy, but it still managed to end up doing so. But around 4:30 or so, that the market ended up actually coming down. They seem to have something to do with the Canadian dollar pairs, which we'll end up having a look at. Even though they are meant to be showing weakness, a bit of strength did come in yesterday, so they did not necessarily take off. So there was a small fight, and that's why you can see the market could even be considered ranging between these two levels, bouncing between these two levels. So for us today, the bias is definitely still going to be looking for buying opportunities on this. You can see even during the Asian session, the Australian dollar has attempted to actually gain some strength. Unfortunately, could not hold within this particular area. But overall, we'll definitely still be looking for those buying opportunities. Watch out for these two, at least these 3 areas right here. We are fully aware that the price can pull back here, but the fact that the price has reacted from this blue area here, don't be surprised that the price could potentially also get there. What you could end up finding is the price looks as if it's coming down, touches there, then gets some sort of probe, price holds above, then you could end up finding the price actually going to the upside. But one thing we are fully aware of is as long as we're holding above this red support and resistance area, our bias here is definitely still going to be looking for buying opportunities. But do trade the Canadian dollar pairs with caution. But we will end up having a look at the other pairs and see what actually ended up happening. So I hope that's clear on the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar as we move on to the next Australian dollar pair, which is the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. And you can see the difference between the other Australian dollar pairs. The Australian dollar against the Swiss franc managed to continue making higher highs and higher lows. The Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar seems to be ranging, but when you look at the Australian dollar against the yen, you can see that strength of the Australian dollar. So that's the reason why we're saying there is some caution with the Canadian dollar pairs. But looking at the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen, yesterday the bias was definitely look for buying opportunities. We did have these 3 areas. Now at 10 o'clock, you can clearly see where the price was. It hadn't yet taken off, but within this particular area, price was just here. So there was a potential buying opportunity within that area. Could have maybe taken that trade, made sure to manage your trade within this problem area, because you can see at 3 o'clock, price was within that seller's area. However, once we did get the price breaching to the upside and holding above, you can see the times that the market actually ended up kicking off. It took off during the Asian market open. So even though we mentioned these times 10, 3, and 4:30, we're only talking about the market opens for the London session as well as the US session. However, the Asian session market open also could end up bringing in that volatility, and you can clearly see the way the market is actually reacting. So do also take note of that. But I think there should be some sort of link. I think I'll ask John to end up putting it in the chat box that you can be able to figure out, depending on where you are, what times each and every market is opening and closing. So that can end up giving you a bit of more of an idea of what's happening. So looking at the Australian dollar against the yen, here our bias is going to be looking for buying opportunities. It does seem that this market seems to be continuing to grind up higher and higher. You know, we did have this problem here, and it does seem as if it's breaking this area to the upside. If that's the case, let's wait to see if we can potentially end up getting a pullback, getting confirmation that the price is holding above for us to continue looking for buys. However, if we do see the price coming in aggressive and the price holds below, there's a possibility we could end up coming all the way back down towards this particular buyer's area before we do end up seeing the price actually going to the upside. So we'll wait and see what happens. But if the price is able to hold above, then we should be able to continue looking for buying opportunities. One thing we do know is the Japanese yen is very, very weak. We did end up having more fundamentals that did come out yesterday night, or at least today morning during the Asian session, and it did continue bringing in a lot of weakness. So if you end up having a look at most yen pairs, you will be able to see that correlation. But for now, let's wait to see if we can get that price holding above for us to look for a buy, or hopefully we can get more of a discount for us to look and try and get a buying opportunity at a much cheaper price. So I hope that's clear on the Australian dollar against the yen as we move on to the Australian dollar against the US dollar. Now, in this kind of pair yesterday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. Remember, I had pointed out within this particular pair that even though the way the buyers came up and you compare the way the sellers came down, the buyers still looked stronger, and that's why we were still looking for buying opportunities. We're fully aware that there was a major area of interest right here that the price could end up pulling back to. And you can see the previous day, even though I know we were looking for buying opportunities, it was just on its pullback. Did manage to get all the way to this buyer's area. You can see the reaction. Then lack of sellers. You can clearly see the way the sellers were attempting to push down, didn't really have strength. And at 10 o'clock, that's when the market started breaking this area to the upside, going up above. Now, if you do look at 3 o'clock, where the market was during the US market open, we're just within an area where the sellers, or at least had attempted to try and break this area. So there was no trading opportunity just yet until we did get the price breaching. And you can clearly see once the price was holding above within this area, could have potentially looked for another buying opportunity. Then remember making sure to manage your trade within the seller's area, which you can clearly see it is still reacting today. So pretty much we'll have the same areas that we did have yesterday, still looking for buying opportunities on the Australian dollar against the US dollar. But one thing that we're expecting to possibly happen, chances of it coming back all the way to the red support and resistance area does seem to be low, mainly because if we are reading the story on a higher time frame, so I'll quickly go to the 1 hour time frame. First things first, we are in a range. So definitely if you're looking for a trade or trading a range, looking for a buy at the bottom and a sell at the top. However, since this range overall, the flow is to the upside, there's a high probability, and also based on the fundamentals, that we could actually end up breaking this area to the upside. So we want to see one of two things. If we do end up seeing the seller struggling, because you can clearly see each and every time, or at least the last times that the market had actually approached this seller's area, you can clearly see that reaction of the seller, very aggressive. You can see the next time the price approached there, the aggression was a bit less to get there. But right now, if we're not necessarily seeing much and we find the seller struggling to even come down, there's a possibility within this particular first support and resistance area, we could actually end up finding the price being able to take off to the upside, possibly holding above before we are able to go up higher. But remember, if we are able to get the price going to the upside, make sure you get confirmation by getting the price breaking and holding above. You don't want to be stopped out where we actually baked out with all these probes that end up happening. When the markets range, you do end up finding that a lot. But we wait to see what happens. Let's see if we can get that pullback coming in, or if the price is actually going to be able to break this area to the upside for us to continue looking for buying opportunities on the Australian dollar against the US dollar. So hope that's clear as we move on to the last Australian dollar pair we do have, which is the Australian dollar against the New Zealand dollar. Now, yesterday, our bias here was to look for buying opportunities. You can see the three areas we had highlighted. We have adjusted the level slightly because we have moved up a bit. But yesterday, during the session that we had at 9 o'clock or so, the price was within a seller's area. So we needed one of two things, either a breach to the upside and the price holding above for us to continue looking for buys, which you can see at 10, it did end up breaking. There was a pullback where the gear did get the price holding above. It attempted to go up, but could not actually. So it was unfortunate for this one where we did end up getting more of a pullback during the US session, because you can see at 3 o'clock, price looked as if it came back in and was actually holding below this particular area, where we did end up coming down towards a support and resistance area. You can see it just came back, pulled back towards this area during the Asian session. Remember, since we're dealing with both the Australian dollar and the New Zealand dollar, and we've had a look at all the Australian dollar pairs did end up moving quite actively during the Asian session. So you can still see we did end up getting that pullback, and the price has managed to actually go to the upside. So it seems like the main trade was today during the Asian session. So we're still going to definitely be looking for buying opportunities on this. Since we have adjusted the level slightly, we'll be watching out for buys. Hopefully, we either get the price breaching this area to the upside and holding above for us to continue looking for buying opportunities. But you can also realize the way we're bouncing between these two levels, what you might find is that we're potentially in some sort of range. So if you do find the price approaching this particular area, you might be able to end up looking for a buying opportunity within that location. But since we do seem to be in some sort of range, if we do get the price breaking and holding above, then definitely we should be able to continue looking for buying opportunities on AUD and ZD. So I hope that is clear on at least the game plan of what we're going to be looking at on this pair. As we move on to the British pound pairs, so mix and match the Australian dollar pairs with all the pairs on the sell side. So let's do the same thing with the British pound pairs. So we'll start off with the British pound against the Swiss franc. Now, this kind of pair yesterday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out. Remember, I did point out that we wanted to see the price actually giving us a pullback. And you can see the way we always keep on illustrating, we did end up getting a probe. The price looked as if it was breaking this area to the downside. The buyers reacted, and you can see lack of any sellers being interested. So these strong sellers ended up disappearing, and you can see that's when the price actually managed to take off to the upside. It was a bit later, around midday or so. But once the price was able to break this area to the upside, you can see there was a pullback that did come in. This was around 3 o'clock, or just 30 minutes into the US market open, which did end up giving us another buying opportunity. So there were two nice opportunities for us to look for buyings right there. And today, we're definitely still going to be looking for those buying opportunities. But one thing we have realized is this price seems to be quite high. And as well as the buyers don't necessarily seem to be that much stronger. You can see the way the first push of the buyer, this was the only pullback. The next push of the buyer, if you compare the first time and the second time, the first time was definitely much bigger. But now, when you look at how the buyers now are coming up, they do seem as if they're struggling. Where is that strength? And remember, we always keep on saying we want to always buy with strong buyers and sell with strong sellers. So what we're most likely to end up seeing, not necessarily be too convinced about a breach and a hold, and especially since we are also dealing here with the Swiss franc pair, so there are fundamentals coming out. So what you might find is actually a pullback actually coming in. So hopefully we can end up getting that pullback coming in, hopefully within this support and resistance area that was breached, to get some sort of probe or price action signal within this particular area for us to look for buying opportunities there. But for right now, in order for me, or at least for us to be comfortable, I advise to look for a strong breach to the upside. So what we'd hope for is, in order for you to look for the buy here, let's hope the price actually breaches quite strongly. And on that pullback, if it comes in slowly, then definitely you can end up looking for those buying opportunities there. But if it's just a small breach like this, where the buyers are not necessarily looking that strong, it's very easy for all those late buyers to end up getting stopped out. Because most people's stop losses are within these areas, they're possibly hiding them within these areas. So if the price comes down and stops all those people out, guaranteed most people are now going to no longer look for the buy, they'll start looking for the sell, not realizing that we're pulled back within a nice support and resistance area for us to potentially look for that buy. So wait and see what happens, either the continuation of the breach to the upside, or let's see if we can actually end up getting that pullback coming in. So hope that's clear on the British pound against the Swiss franc as we move on to the next British pound pair. So this is the British pound against the Canadian dollar. Remember, I did point out that the Canadian dollar pairs did end up giving some issues. We did look at it at the Australian dollar against Canadian dollar, where it did seem to be in some sort of range. And it's a similar situation here. So you can see during the London market open or Frankfurt market open, which is at 9 o'clock, you can see the price actually started giving us a pullback. At 10, it looked as if it was breaking this area to the upside. but we did end up getting some sort of probe where the price managed to come back in. Unfortunately, we couldn't get that hold above here. So if we did manage to grab an aggressive buy, we can see the buy did end up working, coming all the way to this particular area, which you can see the price was within there during the US market open. And at 4:30, that was where the highest point was. And you can see the New York Stock Exchange did end up bringing the price down lower. But overall, we're still going to be looking for buying opportunities. We're hoping that that weakness on the Canadian dollar pairs will show up today. So we'll be focusing on the same levels that we were looking at yesterday, looking for a buying opportunity where we are right now. And it's a good thing because you can see whenever the price attempted to come down, it came straight back in. Even though here it looked as if it was holding below, the fact that we managed to break this here to the upside and holding above, this is a good sign for us to look for those buying opportunities. But remember, we want to see a sign of strong buyers. So what you could possibly wait for, if you do see the buyers coming in, wait for that pullback within a nice support and resistance area for you to be able to look for your buying opportunities there. At least once you end up seeing that, you have a location of where you can be able to actually end up putting your stop loss. Because remember, at least that buyer who actually takes off, if you put your stop loss below there, you're much safer. Because if the price comes down below that, then you know that that wasn't the real buyer and you should not actually be continuing to look for buys. So there's no point entering a trade, let's say, if you get the market actually going to the upside, putting a stop loss all the way here. You can actually end up being able to manage your trade. Because remember, it's all about risk to reward, trying to get a small risk, but trying to maximize on the profit. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. But this one, definitely looking for buys. But remember, watch out for the Canadian dollar because we did end up seeing a bit of strength yesterday. Let's hope we'll find that weakness coming in today. So moving on to the next British pound pair, here we do have the British pound against the Japanese yen. You can see the same correlation coming in with a number of these British pound pairs. At around 9 o'clock in the Frankfurt market open or so, the price managed to come down. And you can see the illustration that we had pointed out here, hoping to get the price probing, which it ended up just spiking down, coming back, holding within this area. So there was a potential buying opportunity then. We did miss that. Remember, we did point out once we did get the price breaching and holding above this particular problem area, we can end up looking for a buying opportunity. And if you take note of the time, that was at exactly 4:30. So that did give you another buying opportunity to be able to take the price up higher. So today, the buyers is still going to be looking for buying opportunities, but it does seem that the Japanese yen, as we did point out, is showing a lot of weakness. That's the reason why this pair really is continuing to go to the upside. So overall, since we did end up having this level earlier in the morning, but we seem to be breaking it, let's wait and see if we can actually end up getting a pullback. You can see this breach to the upside is much better because it's way stronger. So this one is clarifying that that level has been broken. So on a pullback within this area, we should be able to look for buying opportunities. But do wait for that pullback to come in. Don't just start jumping in on buys because the first question you need to ask is where are you going to put your stop loss? If you're buying, what lot size are you going to get into? Because if you don't know where your stop loss is going to be, you don't know what lot size you should be entering. So risk management is the key thing here. So let's wait to see if we can actually end up getting that pullback. But this has something to do with yen weakness, which remember we did have a look at the Australian dollar against the yen, and we can still see the similar situation. So once this price is breaking nicely, let's see if we can get the price holding above. So definitely some correlation coming in with the yen pairs. So chances of it pulling back towards these areas are not seeming there. At least the chances are going down lower and lower. So let's wait to see if we can get the price holding above. So I hope that's clear on the British pound against the Japanese yen as we move on to the next British pound, which we do have, which is the British pound against the US dollar. Now, in this kind of pair yesterday, remember our bias here was to look for buying opportunities. You can see the three areas that you had pointed out. Now, yesterday, London market open. You can clearly see the way the price started coming down. It looks as if it was breaking this area to the downside. Remember, that's what we want. This is a very good indication that many people are jumping in on sales. And once the price came back and was holding above, did end up giving us a nice buying opportunity. This was around midday or so. Now, if you did end up missing that buying opportunity, you can clearly see once the price broke this area to the upside, since remember we did have a level right here. Once the price broke this area to the upside, if you take note of the time, you can see that was at around 3 o'clock, which did end up giving us another buying opportunity to take the price up higher, ideally making sure to manage your trade within this problem area, which you can see the price was there at exactly 4:30. So when we're mentioning these times, you find the markets actually end up potentially start moving or could actually end up turning. So just watch out for those specific times. But today, buyers here, we're still going to be looking for buying opportunities. We've adjusted the level slightly. based on these areas, because it does seem to be in some big range bouncing between these two levels. So even though we're in a range and we are looking for buying opportunities and we're at the top of the range, don't start jumping in on sell. They are quite risky, mainly because you can see the way the sellers, the first time, the way they reacted, but look at their reaction now. What we're most likely going to see is the price actually breaking this area to the upside. The good thing about ranges is once we do get a breach, and remember, we want a proper breach, and we get the price pulling back, and we get confirmation the price is holding above, that actually gives you a high probability trade right there, where we could end up getting the price coming up. But we need to confirm that it is not approved, because you can clearly see within this particular area, price had gone all the way up to this particular area. So at one point in time, this was a big green candle. So most people must have been jumping in on buying opportunities, which is very late. If they had waited to confirm that the price is going to hold above, then they would have been able to take their trading opportunity. But if you just ended up taking a trade, you couldn't easily get stopped out. That's why we'll always say, wait for the confirmation, a pullback, seeing that the price is actually going to hold above that location. So I hope the game plan is clear on the British pound against the US dollar. So as we move on to the next and last British pound pair we do have, which is the British pound against the New Zealand dollar, we can see the similar correlation with all these British pound pairs. Remember pointing out yesterday that this market was trending quite nicely. We just ended up breaking an area to the upside. Price was within this particular seller's area. So what we wanted was a pullback coming in, price actually holding above this particular area, or at least pulling back to support and resistance area. Where you can see there was a small entry criteria right there, where you could have actually looked for your buying opportunity, making sure to manage your trade within the seller's area. But you can see at 3 o'clock, that's when the price was within the seller's area during the US market open, but nothing much has happened. Then you can see the price seems to be bouncing between these two levels. So overall, we're definitely still going to be looking for buying opportunities on the British pound against the New Zealand dollar. We'll still have the same levels, so there's a possibility the price could still bounce between these two areas. But what we're most likely to see when we end up having a look at the other British pound pairs, if we do get, or at least you see one British pound pair breaking this area to the upside, and you get the price pulling back and holding above, then you should be able to look for buying opportunities. But if not, let's wait to see if we can actually end up getting the price pulling back. Because if it's not able to actually break to the upside based on this level, because it does seem there's some sort of level right here where it's attempting to break up. If it can't go up higher from this particular level, it means that this price is not good enough. So what it would need to do is get a better price. And when you see the price actually coming back in, looking as if it's come down lower, most people now start switching to the sells. That's when you could find the price actually going to the upside. So we wait to see what ends up happening. But overall, we're definitely going to be looking for buys. But remember, buy with buyers and sell with sellers. So I hope that's clear for all the British pound pairs. As you can see, we mix and match the Australian dollar and the British pound pairs with all the pairs on the sell side. So right now, we're going to have a look at the euro pairs before we have a look at the indices. So we'll start off here with the euro against the Swiss franc. Now, in this kind of pair yesterday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. Now, we did end up pointing out these three areas. You can clearly see that we did end up having the highlighted areas. But unfortunately, we could not get all the way to that particular area. Did point out yesterday, even as we were having the session, that there seems to have been a level, this blue line that I had drawn yesterday, because we did end up seeing that the price could potentially end up reacting from there. And you can see that's exactly what ended up happening. We're hoping to see the price coming back towards this buyer's area, but it seems these buyers were still interested in it, or at least willing to buy at that higher price. And you can see the slowdown of the sellers before the market actually ended up taking off to the upside. Now, the timing wasn't necessarily the best, because I think this was just around 1 o'clock or so. At 3 during the US market open, we were within the seller's area. But if you did wait for a breach to the upside, and you can wait for that pullback coming in, because that pullback side actually coming in around 4:30, you can see we did get confirmation. The same illustration that we drew here, the price breached and actually held above, then we could have actually been able to look for those buying opportunities. But today, buyers here, we're going to definitely still be looking for the buys. Can see where we are. Hopefully, we are able to end up getting this price breaking this area to the upside. But remember, since we're dealing here with the euro against the Swiss franc, there is caution with this currency pair, mainly because the Swiss franc fundamentals coming out at 10:30 could end up giving some changes, or could actually be inciting the market to actually go to the upside. So what we'd want to see, hopefully we can end up getting a pullback coming in. we would definitely want to see the price pulling back within this particular area. That would give us a much better buying opportunity there. But there's a possibility the price continues going up higher, breaks to the upside, and we do get that pullback coming in. We should be able to look for that buying opportunity. But for now, let's wait to see what ends up happening. These buyers that are coming in don't necessarily look that strong. I've seen this many times where the price looks as if it's going up, then you find the price actually coming back all the way down towards an area of interest, stopping all those late buyers out, inciting people to sell. It comes back to a nice buyer's area, you find the price actually taking off from that location. So wait to see what ends up happening. But for now, we just need to be a bit patient on the euro against the Swiss franc. Now, let's move on to the next currency pair. Now here we have the euro against the Canadian dollar. Remember, yesterday we were looking for buys, but here, dealing with the Canadian dollar, it did not actually take off. We saw the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar, which ranged, the British pound against the Canadian dollar, which also ended up ranging. But if you realize, this one actually ended up continuing to come down. That just means that comparing the buys, which currency pairs were stronger, it seems the Australian dollar and the British pound pairs were way stronger than the euro. So it was unfortunate, but we have realized and taken note of the same way we had a look at the euro against the Australian dollar. After this huge breach to the upside, you can see we're pulled back down towards a buyer's area right here. So there's still potential. After this breach to the upside, we could just be pulling back here before we actually take off to the upside. And if you compare how the sellers have been coming in, remember, we want to see, or at least the way the market ends up moving, you will see that slowdown. I know these are concepts that we do teach within our masterclass course and our courses, where you can see the strength of the buyer. You can compare how the pullback is coming in. Very shallow. You compare the next push of the buyer, this very shallow move. But now look at the next push. Hardly anything upwards momentum, and the pullback is way deeper. Similar situation, it tries to go up, hardly anything, and you can see the strength of the seller. So you can be able to see the momentum, engage that strength of a move actually coming in. So that's why when you're looking at the way the sellers came in the first time, very strong, so no buying opportunity. You can see a small pullback. Next attempt, if you compare how they came down the first time, big strong candles. Here, there are a number of wicks, so it's not necessarily as strong. The buyers reacted, but now if you compare how they're coming down now, and not even able to make a new low, which is ideally a sign that the sellers do seem to be slowing down. So we want to see if we can actually end up grabbing that buying opportunity. But remember, we want to see signs that the buyers are actually interested. Rather than actually entering the trade way earlier, then you find that the market actually breaches this area to the downside, it goes below, and you taking an unnecessary loss. It would be much better if you did end up seeing some signs of big boys actually coming in, the big boy buyers coming in, then you could potentially end up grabbing a buying opportunity. So if you see the buyers coming in, remember the small sellers area where the buyers could end up finding some issues. But if you find the price giving up small pullback, then you could end up finding the price actually taking off within those locations. If you miss the trade down there, you can end up waiting for a breach to the upside, price holding above for you to be able to continue looking for buying opportunities on the euro against the Canadian dollar. But remember, we did end up having some caution with the Canadian dollar pairs. Maybe they were just on their pullbacks yesterday, coming back to areas of interest, and you might find today they actually start moving. Because most people, even though they were thinking of sells before, they're no longer thinking of the sells just based on the fact of the way the markets pulled back yesterday. So you'll be surprised that that's when you find the markets actually taking off to the upside. So we'll wait and see what ends up happening. But let's first see, even though we're seeing the sellers slow down, we need to see a sign that the big boy buyers are actually interested as well. So hope that's clear on the euro against Canadian dollar. As we move on to the next currency pair, the euro against the Japanese yen. Now, similar correlation, we can see the way the prices are breaking these areas to the upside. So definitely this has something to do with the yen pairs. But before we even focus on today, looking at yesterday, since we did end up having this for a buying opportunity as well, you can see during the London session, price was within a seller's area, so no buying opportunity for us. We did get the price actually giving us a pullback. You can see the way the price attempted to break this area to the downside, it came back up. So not necessarily a breach yet. But when it tried to come back and hold above, it didn't hold above. It came down, gave another probe, right? And you can clearly see the timings that actually happened. So once the price came back in and now had started actually holding above, if you take note, it was around 4:30 or so where the price was holding above, and you could have actually looked for a buying opportunity then, and you can clearly see, even if you didn't manage your trade within this problem area, you would have still made some good money. But right now, we can see the prices are continuing to go up higher. But remember, this has something to do with the Japanese yen pairs, because we've had a look at all the other yen pairs and they all seem to be showing a lot of weakness. So let's wait and see if we can get the price coming back in and holding above this area. We don't want to see a very aggressive seller. If the seller comes in too aggressive, there's a possibility the price might not actually hold above here. We might actually see the price coming down all the way to this middle support and resistance area. So let's wait and see and hope that these sellers actually end up slowing down, coming in a bit slowly, showing us evidence that the price is holding above for us to continue looking for buying opportunities. But remember, if you're not too sure about this pair, end up having a look at the next yen pair and see how is it pulling back. If they're all doing the same thing, because remember, the yen pairs are very much correlated. You can be able to end up identifying nice entry criteria. We had advised not necessarily jumping in on all of them. Remember, you don't necessarily want to put all your eggs in one basket, because if you end up losing, you might end up losing a lot. At the same time, yes, you could end up winning and winning a lot, but you do need to end up managing your risk. So let's see what ends up happening. We can clearly see where the price is coming down, and that's why we always encourage wait to see and get confirmation that the price is actually going to hold above for us to get a nice buying opportunity on the euro against the yen. But otherwise, we'll wait and see what ends up happening. So moving on to the euro against the US dollar. Now, yesterday, similar situation in this kind of pair. Our bias was to look for buying opportunities. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out during the London session. The price was within an area where the sellers, so we did point out no buying opportunity for us just yet. What we were hoping to see is get the price coming down lower. Did point out as well that there was some small buyers area here that should end up watching out for, but it seems that the price ignored that, came back all the way to the main support and resistance area. And you can see the same way that I pointed out, you can be able to identify the slowdown of the market. So you can compare how the sellers came down there, the pullback, but now look at how they came down, trying to come all the way within here. So they did end up starting to slow down. And even down here, you can see the way they attempted to come no lower low, where the price actually ended up giving a probe and the buyers actually ended up reacting. So they did end up getting a buying opportunity within this particular bottom area. We did miss that trade there. You can see that later on, the price did end up approaching the seller's area around 430, where we should have managed our trade. But if you notice, the price did manage to break up to the upside yesterday late at night. But right now, we have it. We've just managed to actually end up getting some sort of pullback. So we'll be focusing on the exact same areas. Hopefully, this is a bridge to the upside and the pullback for us to potentially look for our buying opportunities. We do manage to grab our buying opportunities within that location. Do make sure you manage your trade within this area. You can see I'm not trying to target all the way at the top. I have put the level at the true support and resistance area where the level with the most touches ideally, because sometimes you might end up having your take profits all the way at those extremes, and you might find them actually not actually getting there. So do make sure you do some sort of trade management by moving your stop loss or closing some of your position. Now, moving on to the last euro pair we do have the euro against the New Zealand dollar. Now, unfortunately, this pair yesterday, even though we were looking for buying opportunities, price was within a seller's area when we were having our session yesterday. But unfortunately, we could not get the price actually holding above within this area. You can see we did get that pullback. We didn't get that hold above. So at 430 or 3, the price is actually holding below. We managed to continue coming down. It was a very aggressive buy, but this one would have been a bit difficult to get at around 530, just grabbing a buy there, managing your trade there. However, it seems that the sellers are definitely slowing down. We're still holding within this particular area. The market has struggled to make any new lows, which is a good sign for us. Because remember, the markets don't necessarily always just turn one time. They will end up having some sort of slowdown. You can see even as the market was going up, we were in an uptrend. Then we seem to have entered a transition into some sort of range before we actually started coming down. So there's always some sort of rollover phase where the markets won't just go down, then they'll go straight up, then down. You will see the market slowing down before it goes up and vice versa before it goes down. So if you notice that there, you can realize here we were making lower lows and lower highs. But if you realize right now, we do seem to be entering in some sort of range. So we're definitely getting that slowdown. But what we hope to see, if we can potentially end up grabbing that buying opportunity, we are able to get the price breaking and holding above the range, we could also potentially find a buying opportunity there. But similar situation. Once we do get the price breaching above this area, let's wait for the price to hold above potentially give us another buying opportunity as well on the euro against the New Zealand dollar. So I hope that's clear, but let's wait and see what happens. Remember, if the price breaks and falls below the red support and resistance area, this pair will fall off our watch list. And that's why we always encourage, let's see signs of big boy buyers. Even though the sellers have slowed down, we should see signs that the big boy buyers are actually showing some interest. So I hope that's clear for all the currency pairs. As you can see, we've mixed and matched all the pairs on the buy side with all the pairs on the sell side. So right now, we're going to have a look at the indices before we do have a look at gold and silver. So the indices worked out quite nicely yesterday. So we'll start off with the NASDAQ. So yesterday, in the NAS 100, we were looking for buying opportunities. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out. So 9 o'clock, or at least when we're having this session, this is where the price was. Remember, we said we wanted to see if we can end up getting a pullback coming in, seeing the price slowing down. And that's exactly what we ended up getting. Because you can see as the price came down, we did end up getting the price slowing down. Remember, I did point out, since we're dealing with the NASDAQ, NAS 100, these are top American companies. So the US dollar, or at least when the US market is open, that's when you find this market way more volatile, or at least will give you the best opportunities. So you can see the price ended up coming down, giving us a very nice probe right here. The price came back in, held above. So this was around 3 o'clock. We can see between 3 and 3:30, did end up giving us a nice buying opportunity. If you missed that trade there, you take note of what happened next. You can clearly see the same illustration that we drew. Once the price managed to break this area to the upside, you can see the price gave a pullback, showing us evidence that the price was holding above, which did end up giving us another buying opportunity. So this was just around 5 o'clock, so 30 minutes after 4:30. So this is just when the New York Stock Exchange did manage to open. And you can see the price has managed to continue going up higher. We realized during the Asian session, not necessarily much has happened, which is okay, because remember, overall, this market is more active during the US session. So even though we're still going to be looking for these buying opportunities, right now being at a seller's area, we do not want to jump in and buying opportunities just yet. Let's wait for one or two options, either the pullback, which would be the preferred option, where the price comes back in, this major support and resistance area holds above for us to look for those buying opportunities. Alternatively, if we do get the price actually breaking this area to the upside, remember, we want a strong breach. Let's wait to see if we can get that pullback coming in before we're able to continue looking for buying opportunities on the NAS 100. So I hope that's clear. And hopefully people manage to take advantage of these pairs as well. So moving on to the Dow Jones. Now, the Dow Jones is a bit tricky, mainly because, remember, we had pointed out we seem to be in some sort of range, bouncing between these two levels. And it seems this is the trade Dan Bickett we did manage to get. We did grab the buying opportunity at the bottom, where you can see, even though we were looking for selling opportunities, we're within a buyer's area, the seller slowed down. It seems that the range is still on, where the price managed to continue going to the upside. You can see this is definitely a problem. You should have managed your trade. And right now, we have managed to get all the way to the main seller's area at the top. Now, one thing we're realizing is that the way the market is reacting, there's a high probability we could actually be attempting to break this area to the upside. And if we do see that, mainly because the way the buyers have come in, we compare how the buyers came in the first time, they were strong. They did end up getting a pullback, but their next push was even stronger, which is a good sign ideally for the buyers. And now compare what the sellers are doing. There's not much that they're actually even doing. So they might not necessarily be interested in selling, because if you own a shop and there are very many people looking to buy something from you, you're not going to give a discount. In fact, people are going to be bidding higher and higher if they really want that price, or at least the product. So what we're most likely going to see is if you do find the price breaking this area to the upside, not similar to what happened here, because you can clearly see how the pullbacks were coming in very aggressive. What we want is a breach to the upside and a slow pullback coming in, confirming that the price is actually holding above. If we do see that, then at that point in time, we can actually start looking for buying opportunities on the Dow Jones. But be aware, since overall we're still in a range, you might even end up finding that the same way that it has done this particular thing, where it's probe, where it goes up, when you see the price coming back in, then we definitely will still be looking for selling opportunities. But only if that red SNR is breached to the upside, will we actually start looking for buys on the Dow Jones. So I hope that's clear on the Dow Jones. As we move on to silver. Now on silver, yesterday our bias was to look for buying opportunities. Seems is the trade also Navin you did manage to end up getting. So here, Yesterday, we're looking for those buys. So at 10 o'clock, where the price was, remember, we did end up saying we either needed a breach to the upside or a pullback. The good thing is the pullback did come in. You can see as the pullback came in, we did get that slowdown. And if you take note of the time that the market actually took off from this buyer's area, you can see that was at exactly 3 o'clock, where it did give us a very nice buying opportunity. You can see there was a slight pullback where the price managed to break to the upside. Now, even though it managed to go above, and you can see the price looks as if it came back down, it seems that there was this support and resistance area where the price was holding. Once it breached the upside, it seems that that was the level that it wanted to actually take off from as well. So you can see that ended up working out. But today, buyers is definitely still going to be looking for buying opportunities because you can see where the prices continue going up. We had these levels earlier, but it seems that even as we are discussing this right now, the price managed to break, hold above, and you can see the way the price is going up. So these are the things that we usually end up saying that we want to see, get confirmation that the price actually ends up breaking a level. So those ones would give you a high probability of your trade working out. Right now, as the price is going up, not necessarily too sure on exactly where it might end up stopping, because you can see right now we are breaking above this particular sellout area, which seems to be very, very strong and has held the market for quite a while. But right now, if we are breaking this area to the upside, let's wait to see if we can actually end up getting a pullback to that area before we're able to look for buying opportunities. If we're talking about our next problem area, this one does seem to be a bit further, or at least quite far. So let me adjust this level slightly. Yeah, I think that level is a bit far for us right now. I think the main thing we'd want to see is us actually getting some sort of pullback first. So not necessarily too sure. I think, yeah, most likely this seems to be the level where the price is actually at right now. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening, but let's wait and see if we can actually end up getting that pullback, getting the price confirming that it's holding above for us to continue looking for buys. But these ones are definitely taking off to the upside. So last but not least, we'll end up looking at gold. So similar correlation, it seems, that's coming in. Now, remember yesterday we had pointed out that we did seem to be in some sort of range, bouncing between these two levels. And ideally, when the market is ranging, always best to look for the buys at the bottom and making sure to closing your trades at the top. Looking for the sells at the top could be risky, especially depending on where the market came in. You can see it started this range, but it started from the bottom coming to the upside. So it still has, even though it started ranging, it has a probability of actually breaking to the upside and going above. So looking for sells might not necessarily be the best, but you can see the range did work out quite nicely. But we did get the price actually getting that pullback coming in. And if you take note of the time that the price was within the buyer's area, that the trade ended up taking off was exactly 3 o'clock. Because if you take that trade at 3 and manage your trade at 4:30, you can see we're already within the seller's area. But right now, the good thing about ranges, and it seems as if we are attempting to break this range to the upside, you can see that's big momentum coming in. As I had pointed out, is that we usually end up waiting, or at least it has a high probability of that pullback that comes in and actually holds above. You will be able to find a buying opportunity. You can be able to back test it where you find a range where the market is just bouncing between two levels. If the price breaks to the upside and it holds above, if this move actually ends up being quite big, or vice versa. So if the price actually ends up coming down and you see the price holding below, there could be a nice selling opportunity as well. So right now, since we're breaking this range to the upside, let's see if we can end up getting that pullback coming in. And hopefully we do end up seeing the pullback coming in slowly before we're able to look for that buying opportunity. We don't want to see something similar to what happened here. But right now, I would advise do not chase the market. This is where most people start jumping in on buys or put their stop losses there, or don't even sometimes have a stop loss, and you find the market just coming down against them. Remember, you want to be able to do it every single day. So you might do it one day and it works, but can you be able to do it every single day? Would you be able to put a lot size of 10, right, on that trade? If you're not, and if that's a bit too much for you to end up losing, then maybe you might need to end up focusing more on your risk and looking at the strategy as well. So the three levels, I guess, since we're ranging, bouncing between those two levels, we need to adjust because you can clearly see the main buyers are still right here. But the fact that we're breaking this area to the upside, if we do end up getting the price holding above, it will depend on what the next level is exactly. So I guess that is it. from me and from us, or at least for all the pairs. As you can see, of mix and match all the pairs on the buy side with all the kinds of pairs on the sell side, including have a look at the Nasdaq as well as gold and silver. So let me see if there are any questions on the Q&A section. If there are any, not really. But let me see. Seeing Gerald, I'm seeing you're asking about the profiles. I know what you're talking about, the MetaTrader 5 profiles. I think you just, yeah, you send us an email. We should be able to get back to you on that. But since I'm not seeing any questions, that's okay. We do need to jump onto the charts. Remember, do make sure you're in the Telegram channel. We do have some Swiss franc fundamentals. So if there are any changes, we'll end up making sure to let you guys know, as well as watch out for the euro, as well as the British pound pairs. Hopefully, this euro fundamentals will give us some more strength and you find the euro actually going up. If it does end up switching, we'll end up informing at least before the US market, because that's most likely when that action move is going to end up happening. So remember, guys, the AMP is here. We've gotten a number of people signing up, which we're very happy to see. So remember, if you are interested in this program, do feel free to let us know. We want to take you guys to the next level. We want to make sure you guys are set up for success as best as possible. So if you are interested in this, feel free to sign up. I know there should be a link in the chat box. This is the Amplify program that we plan on releasing very, very soon, but want to see the level of interest that people have. But from what we've seen, a lot of people are very interested, which we're very happy to see, and we'll make sure to give you guys as much value as possible. So that's it from me. Hope you guys again have an amazing trading day. May the tips be with you. May you make a lot of money, hopefully, in the charts. May you also learn a lot as well. Because remember, the whole point is to be able to improve each and every day. Look at what you did yesterday. What did you do right? What did you do wrong? And that's why we always insist on making sure to review all your trades. Figure out what you're doing right and doing wrong. A lot of traders end up not being successful because you end up realizing that they're making the exact same mistake each and every day for every trade. So they keep on losing and losing. But once if they realize and review and realize this is the same mistake I keep on making, once they try and avoid that, you will see things will end up changing. For some of you, it's just one small thing that needs to be changed that will end up determining success or failure. So do make sure if you have any interest in this, do reach out to us. Our contact details are right there in the chat box. So remember, if you like everything that we share, feel free to also go to our YouTube channel. Make sure to give us a like and subscribe as well. Put those bell notifications. At least we're trying to end up getting as much exposure and getting you, the information to you guys as best as possible. Anyway, guys, God bless. That's it from me. Hope to see you guys tomorrow. Happy trading. Cheers, guys, and bye for now.